Well, it's that time of year again.
More accurately, 5 days of attempting to learn this impossible instrument, because I'm definitely not practicing in the middle of the night. In honor spooky season, let's all just pretend to get different cards.
I originally planned for this to be a build video because I had a big fantasy about following Bob Moog's schematics that he published and building a theremin from scratch. And while I love that I dream big, I realized that I do not have time for all of that. So I bought a kit at the last minute, and somehow I also didn't realize that there would be no building involved. I thought there would be some soldering or something, but no, it's mostly assembly. So instead, you're getting an assembly plus practice video where I attempt to learn how to play something, anything, in just a few days. And while I'm pretty sure you already know how well that's going to go, if you're considering getting started on the theremin, I'd like to think there's some realistic insight here as to what that process looks like. Because every single person who ever got good at a thing had to start right at the same slow, frustrating beginning. And so, on with the assembly. This build is pretty self-explanatory. The instructions are very clear. The file for the 3D printed back is free online. The only thing I had even a little bit of trouble with was that the antennae were a very tight fit, and so I backtracked and attached the antenna to the board connectors first before screwing the whole assembly together. Mostly because I was afraid I'd break something with the amount of force needed to shove those parts together. And here's the finished theremin. Before you start playing, you do need to turn it on and let the electronics warm up for a couple of minutes, and then proceed with calibration. And if I had more than 5 days of experience with the theremin, this is the section where I would walk you through that. But it occurred to me that you'd probably learn a lot more if you just followed the instructions that came with your theremin. The Open Theremin's instructions were quite clear, and I didn't have too much of a problem getting it up and running. I may revisit this in 4 to 6 months to see where I'm at, also reevaluate any of the opinions I've expressed in this video, and maybe laugh at myself a little bit. And at that point, I'll probably have some more informed opinions or techniques to share. So, read your manual, do the hard thing and just get started. I believe in you. Okay, we've now entered my spooky practice zone. Just having a little silly fun here. So, I just have this turned on. I'm just going to give it a first try. Don't expect much. It's the same any direction. I guess it's all just proximity. Okay, okay. Oh God. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. So, this is my plan of attack here. Scales. Reading a little more about the Open Theremin specifically. Also, probably look up some videos of how to play the theremin, because I've seen some videos of people playing before, and I kind of vaguely know how this works, but I don't know if there's any good tips and tricks, y'all. Tips and tricks. At this stage, I actually probably need them. And, maybe look up some easy repertoire that I think I could, maybe there's a tiny little piece I can play at the end. or not, or something recognizable. Because if I write it, no one's gonna know if I'm playing it right. So see, that's the key, everyone. If you write your own music, nobody can say you're playing it wrong. All right, well, I got a lot more practice to do. Yeah, get cracking. Let's just see where we're at. Oh no. Okay. Just do a lot of vibrato. You can't tell what pitch it's supposed to be. So, you know, I'm better than I was yesterday. So there's that. So yeah, I just need to work more on scales and actual hand positions tomorrow, because there's some, apparently there are actual theremin methods, which I guess I didn't realize was a thing. The other thing I thought was interesting is that one of the videos I watched did suggest that if you are a string player, to reverse the pitch and the volume. Since this is normally your pitch hand and this is your, your rhythm hand. So I don't know if I'm going to do that at all. I probably won't for this little experiment. Because on the one hand, I'm probably more facile with this hand, but also it's kind of nice to have an instrument to give this one a rest. You know what I mean? Like, maybe don't work this one hand all the time. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. So anyways, onwards and upwards. Wow. I'm not surprised it's this difficult, but I maybe I'm a little surprised. I've been forewarned. The interesting thing that I'm noticing is actually how pianistic it kind of feels, because when I'm actually doing fingerings, I'm thinking about where I need to shift. Like if I'm doing this, do I need to shift here and then get down here? And it makes it's a lot like playing scales on the piano to me. I'm not sure by day 5 I'm going to be able to play anything at this point. So I'm thinking ahead. What else can I do? What are my options? So we'll see. Honestly, okay. Well, considering where I was at yesterday, okay. So I don't know. I might have a change of plans for day 5, but I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll see. I don't know yet either. I imagine after witnessing all of this, there might be a few people wondering, why would I want to have a theremin in my life? So before we get to night 5, I thought I'd share some thoughts. Let's start with the cons. Number 1, it's hard to learn. I don't think that's a controversial statement. But I don't think the hardest part of it is finding and holding the pitches necessarily. What I think is hard about it is hearing the pitches and holding that in your head while you're finding the pitch. Because once it starts to kind of go off a little, it's easy to lose that pitch. It's a lot like if you are trying to remember a number. Let's just say 07385. 07385. 07385. And then someone next to you starts talking. 07385. 07385. 0733. Oh no. 07505. Oh no. That's what it's like. Because once that pitch starts going just a little off, you start losing that in your head. I think that's actually one of the harder parts of it. Also, I don't think, although there is some methods that you could follow, I don't think there is much a standard pedagogy as there is, for instance, a violin. So it is a little bit of a, figure it out kind of instrument to a certain extent. So you got to be prepared for that. 2, this could be controversial, but I do think there may be a bit of a limitation with the using it as a melodic instrument. It is basically a sine wave. And I don't know if a lot of people love that sound, so you have to really love that. And 3, I would say range creep and recalibration. The thing is while you're playing it, the range kind of starts fluctuating a little bit, at least I've noticed that. And I don't think it's just the Open Theremin. From my very limited research, it seems to suggest that this is just kind of a theremin thing. And so if the range kind of starts changing, that also means the location of the pitches starts changing. And so, makes it, again, hard to find pitches. I don't think it's really all that different than having to retune a violin, but I did feel like I have to do that a lot more. Like the second you step away from it, it seems like it'd start changing. But I don't want this point to scare people too much, because my research also suggests that depending on your specific theremin and how it is made, there are a few reasons for and potential solutions to these issues that can be investigated for better, more stable operation, including temperature, grounding, wind, breathing, yawning, user error, sarcastically rolling your eyes, not warming up your theremin, practicing too soon after swimming, overgrown cuticles, being too proud to read the manual, overcomplicating setup by reading the manual, forgetting your daily offering to the theremin gods, and, last but not least, user error. So this might be a little extra unanticipated work when you're getting started, but maybe you would probably get used to that over time, but I did find it a little frustrating. Pros. I would say number 1 is that it can be used as a controller, and I think that's one of the better uses for it. The gestures themselves feel really musical, and I feel like coupling that with a different variety of sounds, it expands the musical palette, yes, but I feel like it sort of expands the usefulness palette. So I think that's a great use for it, and I think a lot of people do it that way because, it's hard to play. Which is also similar to number 2, which is just using it for sound effects. Again, it's hard to play, so if you just kind of want to use it to kind of pepper your music instead of having to try to learn how to play a melody on it, I mean, obviously that's going to be easier. And it also depends on if people's ears get very tired of that. I don't know how many people want to really listen to albums and albums of theremin music. I don't know. I mean, which leads us to number 3, which I actually think is sort of the number 1 use for a theremin, which I don't know if anyone is doing this, but I think this is great for ear training, because it is so hard to hear the pitches because they start fluctuating and hang on to that in your head, I just feel like if you are a musician, this would be an excellent tool for sort of cross-training your ears. So yeah, I'd love to hear if anyone actually is doing that in any kind of educational setting, because it seems obvious the minute I start trying to play it that that's going to be a big benefit. So on to night 5. I need to give you some pros before night 5. Okay, well, we all saw where I was at yesterday, and so I decided to try a different plan here. So instead of trying to play a song and failing, because, you know, you kind of heard that yesterday a little, I decided to just see what kind of other sounds I can make with this. So this does have a control voltage output, but I do not have any instruments that take control voltage. So instead, I'm taking the audio output, putting it into Ableton, and using a very old plugin, which is technically not available on their site anymore, but I did find on the interwebs to capture audio to MIDI. And then I've just set up a few little tracks with just some, you know, just interesting little sounds. I'm just going to play a couple little things. This isn't going to be a whole spiel here. But yeah, I just thought I would just do some little interesting little noises. That's my whole channel. Interesting little noises. All right, let's see if we can do this. As it turns out, the spookiest thing about the theremin is how hard it is to play it.